All right. Well, without further ado, we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. My name is David Tulkin. I am the Director of Business Development here at Shop-Ware. We have a very exciting webinar planned today. I am joined by Ryan, is it von Steinen? I should have asked you first in our previous...
Von Steinen. Nope, no problem, David.
Von Steinen. All right, very close. Awesome. He's the General Manager of JB Import Automotive. And I'll tell you a little bit about him in a second. Before we get started, just some housekeeping issues. This will be recorded, so if you want access to it at a later time, you can just shoot me an email. If you have any questions about anything, please put them into the Q&A, which you can access, at the bottom of your Zoom screen there, and we'll make sure to try and answer these questions. It would be great if it's as interactive as possible. So if you have a comment, please just chat me and I can unmute you. I would love to have people hop in and participate in this conversation. Today's topic is building Shop-Ware into your standard operating procedure. Like I said, we're joined by Ryan. He's the General Manager at JB Import and Automotive Repair. They've been on Shop-Ware for a little more than 3 years now. And Ryan has helped take that shop from 1.1 million to up to 1.5 in the time that they've been on Shop-Ware, and they're on track to do 1.8 this year. So congratulations for that. They've grown from 70 reviews they've had in 2018 to over 280 reviews now, and Ryan attributes a lot of that growth in their online reputation to Shop-Ware. They are a Bosch service center for over 10 years. They are part of the Castrol Bosch pilot program as well. On the personal side of things, Ryan has a applied science degree in high performance automotive from the University of Northwestern Ohio. He's been in the industry for about 15 years. He's held multiple roles. He's been a technician. He's worked for Napa in parts sales, been service managing as well. But now like I said, he is a GM over at JB Import, where he's been for some time. And he's very passionate about educating customers about their vehicles, using digital technology in the workforce. I've consulted with him and asked him for help on a multitude of projects since I've come on to Shop-Ware. And before I sort of pass things off to Ryan, the way this came about is just because, I've been having lots of conversations, constant conversations with shop owners, with partners, with everybody that we work with, and discussing some of the I wouldn't say the issues, but some of the challenges they've had, implementing a new shop management system. And whether that's Shop-Ware or something else, obviously when you put a new shop management system into your repair shop, you're really stripping everything out and putting it back in, and it can be a very difficult process. And Ryan had shared with me this well-planned, very elaborate document, the standard operating procedures for JB Import. And Shop-Ware is an integral part of that standard operating procedure. And it's very detailed down to how do techs use it, how do service writers use it, how do we order parts, how do we check customers in, check customers out, how do we collect on warranty information, and not just from a personnel issue, but how Shop-Ware fits into all of that. And I think this document that Ryan created and that we're going to talk about today is probably one of the reasons that their shop has been able to embrace changing from another platform over to Shop-Ware so well. And I just thought it would be really interesting for our existing users to take a look at what that document looks like, and go from there. So without further ado, I'll pass it off to Ryan, and we're kind of just going to have just kind of an open forum here to go through everything. So we'll get started. Ryan, did you see my screen just change for you there?
Still on the opening screen here for the operating procedure. Yeah.
I think I might have lost internet connectivity, but I'm trying to get back in here. We've been having quite some problems recently. So give me a second. All right, how are we looking?
Much better.
All right. So before we get, I guess the first question I have for you is, what does your standard operating procedure look like, before Shop-Ware? And what sort of changes did you realize were needed once you put Shop-Ware back in? How, what did that look like? So what did your SOPs look like before, and what sort of things did you realize were needed? And then, how did you take it to where it is now?
Yes. So we had a really ancient program that we came from here, and we had very little procedure at all. And it was kind of my complaint of the business as a whole is we didn't have a lot of procedure. So I went about creating a procedure manual, and this also just kind of happened when Shop-Ware was new to us. And I think there was a lot of change. And that's kind of how this procedure manual has helped me. I mean, like what we're looking at here right now is a workflow screen that you guys might be familiar with. This was my desk before. This was clipboard set out under Jack, multiple under Eric. So really just moving paper away and things off the desk and getting just into the program fully. But I think really the biggest change came, and this is technicians and advisors, is trying to educate customers about what's going on with their car. Instead of, just talking over the phone about a water pump leaking, getting a photo of it, getting a little description about what's going on, having an estimate they can they can look at right there that we built for them with a parts and labor breakdown. It was a big change to say, I always say we're educating customers now. We're not selling to them, we're educating. So I mean, there's a lot of changes, and some things we're going to go over today are just portions of the procedure guide. And I do want to be open to anyone that if you've got problems, I'm happy to help too if you want to message me.
Awesome. What were some of the biggest mistakes or obstacles that your team made, when they were using Shop-Ware and they were first getting started? And, how did you sort of say, like, observe these things and be like, these are issues, and then make changes to your SOP to try and address them? In other words, how did what happened organically influence your changes to the standard operating procedure?
Yeah, I mean, lots of little things I could look at here, like just photos that advisors take of the cars had to be judged because you're not getting the car in the whole shot, or you're not getting the corners of the car. So adjusting things like that. I think, kind of what we're showing here too, and a real asset for Shop-Ware or any digital platform is being able to show people what you're looking at. And we have some examples here of good and bad, which I think does a very easy sales technique when you can see a good and a bad one. But I also think there's good and bad photos, both by advisors and technicians. And sometimes, just a little clarity on a tie rod or an imperfection on the paint can go a long way. So I think it was really tough to get people to not only take the photos, but take a good quality photo. And then the next thing we kind of progressed with on the technician side is there needs to be one photo per issue, not 4 different photos all together in one post. One post has the photos of just that issue. There was really lots of things, but something if people are new to Shop-Ware that I would highly advise is any estimate that you build in the notes section. You don't build on the repair order and then transfer it as a recommendation over notes. You build it in the notes section. And there's a couple things that go along with that where it just keeps the same labor rate if you don't do that estimate this time, but do it on the next visit. And then it's a nice feed and flow there for the customer to read through.
Got it. Can you say a little bit more about that? I think that, like what you're saying about when you're creating the repair order and where you're putting information.
Yeah, so what I try to tell technicians is if you're telling me an issue with the car, I need a post about it. And when there's a post, I need a photo. And it really should be one post per issue. So if you got 4 photos of a water pump leak, and let's say that can be one post. But then the next one down is a tie rod that's worn out. That needs to be a separate post. So you can have some information on there for the customer about what this photo is concerning, and then an estimate for repair there as well.
Got it. That's helpful. Let's see here. Are we here on? Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about, in section 4.7 of the operating procedure, you say estimating repairs to customers post diagnostic and/or inspection using Shop-Ware. In other words, you said this section is titled Estimating Repairs to Customers Post-Diagnosis and/or Inspection Using Shop-Ware. And you mentioned that it's very important that service writers explain in detail what the customer is looking at in the photo and why the issue is needed for repair. And you really go into a huge amount of detail in this. Can you just talk a little bit about this and the importance
Sure.
and the impact and why you spell this out so diligently?
So I'm a detail person, for sure. That's just how I operate. But I really think those words that people read mean a lot. Not only how your maybe vocabulary and grammar works in there, but describing what's going on too. And it's not part of what I'm showing here today, but Moto visuals is something I use when I'm like, man, customer has no idea how this works. Let me give them a good idea about how this works. The other thing that I think is important is currently Shop-Ware, you can't move the notes around like a bottom one up to the top. So what I've done to really help customers understand this is the most important issue or this is a safety issue is I start post all caps, safety issue. And then I write out what I need down there below. And the same thing I would do with this is the issue you came in for. I'll write that in all caps. This is the issue you came in for, and then give my description. And it just helps the customer kind of see, all right, this is the problem I came in for. Or, oh my gosh, this is a safety deal. Excuse me. In building out this information really took some push from me, the manager, to get everybody on board because people want to do things quickly. And you can do things more quickly, but to really have it put down to educate the customer and have estimates that will be the same the next time the customer comes in, you got to do things a certain procedure, which is why I've written this out. Some of these things over here, I think, David, I kind of went through in the last question, but we really, it's such an emphasis of mine, especially at the beginning, to get a photo of every issue and have a separate post. I mean, it sounds silly, but it's a big deal for sure.
Yeah, I'm just, you talk about going into such detail, and sometimes, I mean, in life, I'm like, I'm giving this person way too much detail. I'm over explaining things. And sometimes
Right.
I think I am. And then other times I think I'm not. In your experience in spelling everything out in just like perfect detail, has that worked to your advantage actually? Or have any of your employees come back and been like, okay, dude, like I'm not an idiot. Like you don't need to do this.
So I have just an all-star service manager now, and he has been able to be more efficient than I have with tickets because he's written less. But what I found out is if you look down the line 6 months and you're trying to figure something back out, is my tickets have a lot of information that might help you with what we were thinking or the technician was thinking that day. So again, I'm a detail person. So I put a lot of information, and I don't try to overload people, but I also want them to understand,
Totally. That makes sense. Can you talk a little bit about this and just in your, how this relates to the procedure guide and everything?
For sure. Every estimate, unless it's a canned job, we're kind of making up separately here. And you need to do this through the notes field, like I spoke about. When you're in one of the notes field, there's a pencil that you can push. And when you push the pencil, then you get this little area up with the $sign and the paper clip. Hitting this $sign, you can pull up a can job, as we're kind of showing on the right-hand side of the screen here. Past services, you can search for a job on a car that's similar. Estimator goes to Mitchell, where you can build estimates out of that too. And then the maintenance portion, I have not worked with a lot, but there is a good maintenance section that I know Shop-Ware is working on. On the top right of there, there's build an estimate to yourself. I forget what it says exactly, build one from scratch. But this is the procedure as far as building through the notes tab that we're always doing is pencil, dollar icon. Then if you've got a can job, use a can job or build one from scratch. After you get past this point, if you go to the next screen, David. Now it's time to get your parts here. And you guys might have been through this before, but this plus button here, you can add parts with. And once you get to this point, you've got the choice of e-com, speed dial, which we use mostly, parts tech, which I know a lot of shops use successfully. We don't here, or build something from scratch when you hit that plus button. And then you can add parts on from there. I do always, follow up and have advisors follow up to check every estimate you make by checking the financials. And I think we might have to go to the next screen for this one too, David. With that little three bubbles down there at the right, and then you hit view financials, and it brings up this nice screen that gives you the GP for the job, GP for the parts, labor. It's a nice breakdown. If you go maybe one further here, I'm sorry. And then the other thing that I do here, and I would encourage others to do, is there's a service category down there at the bottom. An advisor cannot close a ticket without having every line have a service category. And I do this because I report data to Castro Bosch, because we're part of this pilot program, and then ATI as well. And this helps me keep track of data very easily, like how many maintenance services have we done in a week? How many warranties? There's a warranty service category. So I do have those split up into some categories. People got questions about that. Happy to help with that too. Okay, so I think we're good on that one.
Do you want to talk at all about photos and sharing those photos and what your procedure is, for that after you have an inspection and you have the information, what the process is to follow up with a customer specifically?
Yep. And we've talked about this a little bit, but many times photos from technicians, or at least the information they're given there, is quickly written down. So I always tell advisors to go through and clean it up and make sure what we're telling them sounds appropriate, because I know techs sometimes lack the time to put down those correct details. Once you're through and you're like, all right, all my financials look good on all my lines, I need to share this with the customer. I've got a little order I wrote out here too. And I know multiple people use Broadly and Service Intelligence, so there's other ways to go about this. But I use within Shop-Ware the share button down there at the bottom of the page. After you've hit and share, usually you have both a text and an email function. We use text just because people are able to get it quicker. There's a standard text that opens up in that window. We always pretty much customize it. We've got several canned messages that we just pull from a Google file and put on there, like, hey, it's time to look at the update for your car. If you'd like to approve anything, here's how to view your updated total. After we send this out to the customer, like it's been texted off through the share button, then we have a status at the top of the page marked as approval ? And this kind of tells any other advisor or somebody looking at the ticket that we're still waiting on the customer. I did not include this in today's presentation, but I've added something new where at the 60-minute mark, we're supposed to follow up. If people haven't, declined or approved anything, we need to follow up at 60 minutes there too. I think if we move, is that part of the procedure somewhere? It's not listed here, but in terms of time frames and following it up, if you don't hear, you do hear, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, and that's it's something I would say about this procedure manual too. Is it's always being worked on. We got a new processor this last week, 360, which we're using through Shop-Ware. I had to write a few things for it just yesterday for procedure. So yeah, it's a work in progress. And when a tech or an advisor comes up and is like, man, this doesn't work, like, what are we talking about? We change it and we talk about it together or in a group if we need to, and figure out what does work for us. So it is a little bit of constant, trial, but I think we all feel like we're constantly improving here too. So that's interesting, and we'll divert before we sort of go into parts ordering. So you welcome and get feedback from your employees about how things are working and what's not working, sit down as a group, make adjustments, and then make adjustments to, I guess, essentially how the shop is run, right? Because that's what this is. Yeah, the most recent one is the advisors and I sat down, and we have a threshold where we asked for a 50% deposit, and they wanted to move it down $1,000. So we did. I mean, it was easy. And now that's kind of our standard. And those little mini meetings happen, I'm not going to say daily or maybe even weekly, but yeah, a couple times a month always, and sometimes several, depending on what's going on. And it just seems like we're always adding something. Like we just added Service Intelligence last month. So there's new stuff that goes on with that, constant building. Nice. All right, let's talk a little about parts. You mentioned before that you were on an older platform before, and so how did you guys order parts before? How do you do now with Shop-Ware? And then how did you adjust, your standard operating procedure and train the staff on how they were going to be ordering parts? Because it seems like it was a lot different than what it was before. Oh man, night and day. Because we just ordered stuff, and the bookkeeper kept track of things, and excuse me, QuickBooks there. But now really with Shop-Ware, you can order, track it while it's being ordered, receive it once the parts have been received. And once you receive it, then it shows, you know, that ticket or that appointment has the parts that it needs. And this has been a huge change. And this is like probably for me, the biggest thing about Shop-Ware I wish I had done from the beginning, because I went almost 2 years without caring about this. And it created, you know, I don't know, 6-8 hours of me flushing out stuff that wasn't relevant to get back to normal. So I made a couple little slides here that I thought might help some people. And I think, you know, the thing I would say is we're acting like right now we've got this job on the screen sold. The customer has approved it. It's time to get the parts coming. Our shop is primarily European cars. We use WorldPack almost exclusively. I mean, with 90% of our parts come from there. So hitting the parts button here would bring up, the selection for e-com, or phone order, or yeah, here we go. There's one part from a dealer up there at the top, Bert Smith, that I would hit order on. And then I would say, all right, that part's coming in however many days. You can select the days there. But then down below where David's mouse is at is order for the WorldPack parts. You hit order on there. These are just screenshots, not live, but and you put in e-com, it is there. It sends all the parts over to WorldPack. Push go on WorldPack. Now your ticket is going to know, all right, we're waiting for these parts. If it's parts that are going to take a few days, you can select the date. Like we do Rolls Royce and Bentley here. Some parts take a week. So I can select, all right, it's going to be a week. Once the parts come in, this is the part that I wasn't doing here, is receiving it. So like I highlighted a couple things here. This is on the part screen. If you look on the left side of the page, that brake rotor. And then when you're under that, there's inventory. It normally comes up under, but I'm under orders. So this is all the parts we've ordered through repair orders there. And if I go over to the right side, I can receive an order. When I hit receive on it, you might have to go to the next screen, David. It pops up a screen that gives me a spot to hit an invoice number and then paid by, whether it's check, card, on account. Once you hit receive, now the parts for that particular ticket will show they're here. Or if it's an appointment, I think I have another screen coming too, where it'll show short or on hand parts. And this has been huge for me because before I kept track of parts, every one just said short, even for oil changes. It's frustrating. So now that we've got it dialed in, I can really see, all right, someone's coming in for a big repair. I have all the parts here. But that kind of hole there with parts is something I wished from the beginning I had just done it proper. And I know I've said this a couple times here, but if someone's trying to do this and they're having issues, I've probably gone through some of the troublesome spots you're in. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah, that's a huge change from what you guys were doing before, which it sounds just kind of renegade MacGyvering everything with the parts ordering. And I don't think we have, I'm not sure if we have any screenshots of what your manual looks like, but I assume that it's pretty detailed and literally walks the staff through every stage of this and how to order, how to receive, what on hand versus short, et cetera, all that stuff is laid out in there, right?
It is, and it's something that I've had to work on. So that portion is still a bit of a work in progress, but I've just gone through so many little stumbling things that I've either figured out or Steve Wooten has helped me a bunch with. So
that's super helpful. And I'm trying to see if I can pull it up just to kind of show everybody.
Sure.
Here, let's see if this can go on the. You guys see can you see the screen now?
I see just Q4. There we go. Now it's coming up, but it's small. There we go.
So if you guys take a look at just how detailed Ryan has built everything out for this, I'll try and blow this up a little bit. Right, but it's literally, I mean, it doesn't, he's talking about being attention to detail, right? There's no room for error and no room for mistake here. It's literally how every single thing is moving through Shop-Ware, how it's getting ordered, how you're splitting up parts, if we're ordering from WorldPack versus using, if we're not using it from WorldPack, and we're on page, I don't know which page we're on of this, but, I think we're on page 30 at this point. So everything is as built out as possible. And I think that is what is one of the reasons, it works so well, and that you have not had as much pushback or issues, from your staff as you're trying to implement these things.
Yeah.
One of the other things that we go ahead.
No, I think to your point, David, getting the employees to buy in on it, letting them know what's going on, why we're doing this, and having their input, I really think matters a lot too, because then you get this big buy-in that this is something we're all doing to improve ourselves here, and we're a team. So it was, this when I made this a couple of years ago, it probably took me 8 or 9 months, of after work typing out stuff. All right. And then I talk with techs, we go over stuff, and I had, the owner and one advisor review the entire thing, and there's changes. Then I had the technicians look at it, and there's some changes. So it took some process.
So sort of moving a little bit away from like direct repair and stuff, I know obviously you guys use, and I think the reason I brought this up is I thought it would be helpful. Obviously, like you said, you guys use broadly, you added service intelligence. I know you use Repair Pal. And that's every single one of these different add-ons, whatever 360 has a place within your operating procedure. And so I just want to know, can you just talk a little bit about how this all came to be and how it works?
Yeah, every piece, is a different part, I guess, of the puzzle, right? What you're trying to accomplish. Broadly, I can be very open about is paid for. It's no cost to us because we're part of this Castro Bosch pilot program. It has been amazing for gathering reviews. It falls really short to service intelligence and pretty much everything else. So we're doing a switch there. Repair Pal, we've been working with for a while, but I really needed procedure. And I think and we do warranties through TechNet, through WorldPack. And these two things are like, man, it's just so easy when you have one of these because we have it all written out and it just always follows like exactly the same way. So these kind of things, like if anybody else is working with Repair Pal, happy to share this because I think it not only gets you some business there, but then you can actually look at your tickets too and make sure, was that a customer of mine? Well, they don't get 6% then, and how to dispute that. And then I believe the next one is warranty, and it's the same thing. I don't know that everybody works with WorldPack, and if they do they use TechNet? But this has really been a great program for me. Is there one before that, or is it just that one, David? I'm sorry. But they pay $75 an hour, and I've had really good luck with these people trying to getting payment from them there. And I have direct procedures about how to do that because there's a specific way to get paid, an email address and everything. And I think that's just a huge for procedures. It's exactly this way. But each one of those has come about separately. I could talk for a while about service intelligence. It's new to me. I'm really interested. It's an amazing product. But that's, in short, that's come in because advisors, technicians, and customers cannot remember everything a car needs. A differential flush, that they're due for a cabin air filter, and service intelligence really helping us with that.
Yeah, that platform is pretty incredible. the amount of data that it provides, and again, I'm not a technician, I don't work in a shop, but when I see the granularity of what that platform provides, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the thing I'm working on now is we have a very text-heavy communication here, and I think customers have really responded to it well, but is adapting our procedures to work with service intelligence. So it's just always something to work on.
Absolutely. We sort of switching gears, and this is going back 10 years to when I started at Demand Force. I was always working with all these different coaching companies, and everything was always talking about exit scheduling, like a doctor does or a dentist does. When you leave, I want you to make your appointment for your next oil change, and shops saying like, I can't do that. Customers are pushing back or they don't want to, et cetera, et cetera. But it sounds like it's something that you guys do in your shop. And I'm curious to hear a little bit about what your procedure is like for getting that accomplished.
It's been tough. I have to be honest about this one. And it's been tough on the procedure side to get advisors and myself to follow through. with the actions. And this is kind of another point where I think service intelligence is helping me, is it's got the oil service reminder 30 days before, the day before, and then 30 days after. I haven't given up on this because we all see it work well at a doctor or a dentist. I've not worked at a shop, but I've seen a shop do it successfully. It seems like an awesome thing. I have some stuff written, David, but it's not been cemented. You know, it's not been something that I've been like, oh man, this has worked great. It's been really tough on that. But I do think service intelligence is going to help us some there too.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to what we had next, which was I noticed in the standard operating procedure, you have a section titled Required Details for Technician Diagnosis and Inspection Sheet. And in that section, you speak about quoting labor times for each item they're noting, needs attention. I've seen some other examples where sort of all services are just on one single line, and it seems like you kind of do things a little bit differently. And I just wanted to see if you could speak to that and kind of how you lay that out.
Yeah, again, I don't know that this is popular with all shops. Some people like to control the labor that's being charged. I kind of look at it like this, where the technician's looking at the car, he's evaluating the job and what needs to be done. I don't let it run away, but I let them set labor times. And maybe it's because I grew up in Michigan and everything's rusty up there and there's always something extra with everything you got to do. But that's kind of what we got going on here at the top right, is they're laying out some issues that the vehicle has and they're given separate times for them. And again, some people like to just go straight off a book or have a multiplier on this, but I have found this is quicker overall. I don't sell something for 4 hours and then a tech go, well, it needs to be cleaned up too. It needs to be 5.5 or whatever. This is them giving me information. So on holding them accountable, it's helped too. Like, well, hey, I needed more labor for this. It's like, well, no, this is what you bid when you looked at the car and you diagnosed it. I don't have a good example here on the page, David, but the tab above it, the car tab, is typically where we put diagnosis notes. You know, something you're diagnosing a check engine light. Here's the codes we had. Here's what I was able to duplicate. Here's what I recommend, you know, for repair. And technicians have been good about the car icon there, putting notes, and then the wrench icon putting repair times. And Shop-Ware does have an easy to use multiplier built in. So people who are into that, you know, get your multiplier set up and just go off the book time if that's what's easier, quicker for you.
Awesome. You know, it's our next one. We were going to talk about pre-purchase vehicle inspection, which is interesting because I'm actually in the market to purchase a camper van, and I've been calling around and actually had a couple done. One done from one shop, another one done from another shop. None of them use Shop-Ware, or one of them did use Shop-Ware, the other one didn't. But I'm kind of curious for you to speak about what your pre-purchase inspection looks like and how you educate your staff and on how that works and the importance of it, et cetera.
Yeah, so we do have 2 pre-purchase inspections. This is kind of most cars, and then we do some Rolls Royce and Bentleys, and they have a more extensive one. But the thing I talk about here is being really careful, looking at every single item there diligently, and then lots of photos. For whatever reason, we get a good amount of pre-purchase inspections where someone's not in town. They're from another part of the state or a different state. And so photos really can tell a lot. So things like we take a photo of every single wheel, whether they're perfect, rough shape. Same thing with any lights that are out around the car. We take videos if, say, a trunk doesn't pop open. Maybe I'll take a little video and say, hey, trunk doesn't pop open. Because these are all important things for an individual to consider before they buy a car. And we try, and I'm not going to say we're 100%, but we're pretty dang good about when you get a pre-purchase back, if it's got issues, we've got estimates attached for it too. And I think that gives people a little bit of power, you know, for buying something. Is, hey, you know, I had it looked over. It's got these couple things. Would you work with me on the price? Both of our inspections have this service advisor portion, which I have to kind of make work a little bit within Shop-Ware there. So it just has that service advisor portion, and then there's a few things, and then once the advisor's done with it, they pass it off, down to the technician. We live in Florida, so we install a thermometer to the dash and check the air conditioning output because it's emergency. I've learned down here, got to have AC.
Yeah. That's for sure. I used to live in Florida as well, so I definitely know what that's like.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit about warranty work and how you guys handle that? You know, like you said, you guys are TechNet. I'm sure some are Napa Auto Care or a certified car for, O'Reilly's or whatever. So I think this is kind of applicable to everybody.
Yep. So even if a car comes in and it's having other work done and then it's got warranty work, my procedure is just always to have a separate ticket for the warranty work. Just makes it a little easier for me to track. TechNet is World Packs. They pay $75 an hour, which is great. So much better than zero. They use book time. I've tried multiple times, but not had a lot of luck with like, hey, we've got to clean this up or do this. They're pretty much just into like what the original repair was about, but they have been good. After we get that ticket set up there is a few things for TechNet that they want to do a claim. But first, what you got to do is call and start and call and use that number there, give them the info, what's going on. And then they send you an email where we have to reply back with the original and the current purchase of the part. And then the same thing for the repair order, the original repair order, the current one showing they're done. Email this back to them. I will mark the ticket as closed, not paid at that point. Once we receive the email confirmation that the claim's approved, I mark the ticket paid, print out the claim slip, and give it to the accountant just so it's tracked there. And then, I think I covered all the steps. I'm sorry.
No, that makes sense. That's great. I appreciate it. I think that kind of brings us to the last, the end of what we had, decided we were going to speak on. Is there anything else that that you want to share with other Shop-Ware users, or just about your operating procedure and how it works for you, or how it doesn't work, and just anything else from a high level perspective?
This is a daunting task, I think, at the beginning, and it's hard for people to start on. But what I found worked for me. I'm going
to pull yours up just for a second while you're talking, and just kind of scroll through it so people are seeing what they're looking at.
Yeah, and I just started simple. It sounds a little silly, but how do you open the building? That's how I started. You unlock this door. You turn on these light switches. These breakers have to be turned on. The fans have to be turned on. And once I did a few of those, how do you close the shop? I really started to get a flow for it. And 40 or 60 pages, whatever it is, doesn't come quickly. But it did help starting simple. And I think that's what I would tell anybody is just, even if you only have 5 procedures, start, get something down. And I think the rest will start to come and flow to you. And you can see through here, I've got sections, just the technician section, general managers being worked on. The number 4 is the service advisor section. 3 is building stuff. 2 is job descriptions. So there's really been, tons of things put in here, and it keeps adjusting. So that's what I would say to people is it seems really daunting, but I think once you get a few in, it's just like, all right, I got this going. I can work it out. We have, terrible parking here. We're right downtown a city. So we had to lay out. And I think the very last page, David has a little diagram I made just about where's good to park, where's not. So, I mean, it's like we've had to cover so many. Yeah. Look at that handwritten.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Love it. Your dog did a great job. Yeah.
But it just keeps going. And it's like David said, the further we go down this path, the better it feels as a whole, as a team, our operation.
Yeah, I'm still super impressed, right? It seems like this is something that every shop should have and every business should have, but the reality is, most of them probably don't. And so, what you've done here is really impressive. And, and I think it can be at least motivation or, help for, other shops that are saying, okay, I need to finally do this and get it done because, like you said, it's had an impact on your employee morale, on your efficiency, on your revenue, right? Just on everything that you've been able to do. And I think somewhat selfishly from my perspective, like it's helped you utilize Shop-Ware much better than you would have if you had just gone in blind and kind of, right? You're getting the most out of your software because you're telling everyone how to get the most out of the software.
Yeah. I would agree there. And again, I'm happy to share anything with people if they want to try to. That's kind of how mine started. Is I found another one from another shop I really like, and I didn't copy it, but I built off of that. It gave me ideas, and it is daunting. But you got to remember, it took me 9 months or so too. So I think it can be done, and it will be helpful.
Awesome. Well, I don't see any questions right now. We've kind of gotten to everything that's come on in. So I'll give it another minute, see if anyone has a question or if anyone else in the audience wants to speak up. Otherwise, we'll let everyone get back to making money. And
heck yeah.
Let's see. Hold on. All right. Hold on 1 second here. Alan, do you have a comment? You're free to speak. You just got to unmute yourself, Alan.
Thing right in front of me that says that.
Yep, you're good. We can hear you.
Perfect. In regards to the warranty claim that you're making, in a perfect world, and you're right, most of the time you're able to, okay, this is going to be a warranty repair, so we start a warranty ticket. But there are those times that maybe you've got multiple things going on a repair order, and now you're going into a repair, and this is a warranty repair here. There's labor time already on that line. I mean, can you do a warranty repair line out of a customer pay ticket? Or do you have
a specific example, Alan? I mean, I think I understand. Like the thing I'm thinking about is like, I do a lot of BMWs. You've done, I don't know, I'm thinking a thermostat on a BMW 6-cylinder, and you're doing a water pump for them now. And could you make a claim on the thermostat if it's gone bad? Probably. I'm not 100% positive, but I would think probably. Is it ethical? I don't know. But certainly anytime there's been something warranty, I've wanted it to be divided so I could see what was customer pay and what was warranty. Do you have an example, Alan, that you're thinking of?
I'm trying to think of something specific. It's not a matter of ethics here. I mean, it would be a legitimate warranty. Let's say it's a previous repair that maybe we did 2 years ago, and we're going in now, or it's a different technician, and we're going into, let's say, do a timing chain or belt. He's going in to do that on his way in, and maybe he's already done some other work to the car. Maybe the front end has gotten rebuilt, and now he's going to do the timing belt, everything's going great. Everything's customer pay. Everybody's happy. Everything's fine. But then, he takes the water pump off and finds out, this water pump has failed. And this water pump now is part of warranty. Or maybe we sell the water pump and later on we realize, that was actually a warranty water pump. So that would have to be all erased off of that and a new ticket made with Shop-Ware. Is that how I'm understanding it?
It doesn't have to be, Alan. It's just how I prefer it to be. So I have, like, I can look at warranty tickets and it's just warranty. I don't have to decipher which part is or is not on there. And I think there's a couple ways I could call that. I could say you're in there, you realize it's a warranty. Whoa, tell the customer, hey, this is something warranty, and start a ticket. If you feel like it's ethical, as far as how you feel, you could do your repair and then also do a tech net for something you've replaced in the past. I don't know that there's a definite, for that. I'm just always trying to be fair to all parties, but when there's an opportunity for something warranty, I just grab it, too. I don't know how much that helps, Alan. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I'm being confusing here, and I'm not as familiar with Shop-Ware, so I'm not sure how the system operates. I guess I'm looking to or thinking more of the technicians, like labor time. Now that labor time has maybe already been assigned and it's already on a customer pay side of things. And then now, part of that now turns out to be a warranty job, getting that labor out and that time, over to, like you say, Worldpac, to them. Yeah, I get it. You could write a separate ticket for that, but now this labor time is stuck on this repair order that was a customer pay issue.
Well,
it doesn't have
the hours. No, it doesn't. And the hours don't really, at least in my head, I could be wrong, David, but count towards the tech until the ticket is closed. So if he got started on a 4-hour ticket and then he realized an hour in, like, whoa, this is warranty, and you started another ticket and put 4 hours on the warranty ticket, and the previous, normal ticket, you took the hours off, he would still be getting paid the same amount. I guess the thing you'd be missing is maybe his clock time, on that job. But I don't see an issue there. And now, as you get going, feel free to, reach out when you get to an issue too. It might take me a few hours to reply, but I'll always reply.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You've helped me. I think you've answered the question. I know it's kind of confusing to say, and again, I agree with you. I'm going to make that separate warranty ticket every time. But yeah, you get in those weird situations. I was just wondering how you handled that, or if you'd had that happen.
Well, and the other thing too, Alan, I didn't say this, but I do it for the separate thing because then I'm sending it to the warranty company, and I just don't want them to pick anything apart either. It's just like, nope, that's what we did. Here it is. Pay, please.
I agree. Thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. Anybody else? All right. Well, Ryan, thank you for your time again. I really, really appreciate it. I know you spent a lot of time putting that together, and I appreciate you sharing it. I think it's very valuable. Sure. So I really appreciate your time. And, I'll hit you up again in a couple of weeks for help with something else. So always appreciated. All right. Everyone else have a great day. Thanks a lot. Take care. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.